everyone, my name is Nurul Naziha Jamal and today I am going to present my extended abstract soon to be a paper entitled Trends and Development of Technological Support in Delivering Computational Thinking to Youth Learners. My presentation will begin with overview of research background, followed by methodology, result summary and conclusion. Computational thinking has been promoted worldwide by educational system as important skill for technological citizen, especially for the youth to get a better future development. Concurrently, there has been a rise in the demand for research into how to teach the city skill. Even so, there are still remain a challenge to improve the motivation of the students and their understanding in learning city. In such various way, one of the effective way to help delivering the city skill well is the integration of pedagogical tool, which is believed able to support the learning. Thus, this study focused on investigating the current technological support and development on delivering and nurturing computational thinking into youth in the line with the 4IR demands. In this study, we applied a systematic mapping study technique which can help in the process of identifying, categorizing, and analyzing existing literatures that are relevant to this topic. 5 steps was taken to accomplish the goal. First, we undergo the problem formulation to define research question. 2 research questions has been carried out by the process. This study proposed to analyze the direction and the purposes of computational thinking in education, besides looking at the pedagogical approaches and supporting tools that can be applied for city learning. We considered the search strategy in this technique by defining relevant keywords to be used for paper selection. Previously, we have analyzed 357 papers and select 40 relevant studies dated from 2011 until 2020. To make the research study more solid and relevant, so we have extended the selection of the paper to the year 2022, which will be presented in our final full paper. The research question 1 aims to investigate the relevance and the importance of nurturing city into the learners. In achieving the goal, the research question is derived into 2 sub-research questions, which are: what are the stages or education level of the learners that are mostly aimed for, and the purposes of delivering the city to the learners. So the first question is to investigate the highest education level of the learners. And we can see in the graph, realizing the stages of the learners is important that need to be considered either in teaching or learning city. This is because city has a big scope and most of the studies prioritize the nurturing of city skill in the early education. The existing study is mainly for developing the city skill and to motivate the generation process of city in the learners, especially at early ages. They believe when city principles are promoted during early ages, it would be easier for the learner to understand city and able to solve real problem during their higher stages in education, as they have the basic principle of city earlier. This skill is believed to be capable of helping the learners to improve their critical thinking and able to carry out the solution in solving real problem. Aside from that, we can conclude that this study reveals the different kind of education level might have and might learn different kind of city skill due to different ages and the logic thinking skill level. For research question number 2, 3 sub-research questions need to be considered. So the first one is what pedagogical approaches are taken in delivering city. So in the graph, as we can see, it shows that constructivism can be best described as a progressive teaching style. It allows the learner to learn through experience and reflection, and the learners would engage with the environment. Same goes to social constructivism, which allows learners to learn in a group and go through a collaborative process between them. So most of the researchers deduce that this both kind of approach is actually able to improve the student instructiveness in learning, whereas the learners can explore the solution to solve problem through experience while having a good discussion in a team. Next, we analyze what are the contexts, either subject or content mostly applied for delivering the CT. As we can see, computer science resulted in the most contexts and subjects such as programming, virtual reality, and any other computing technologies used to nurture the CT skill. However, we can see also non-computer science implementing computing into their teaching and learning processes. So, this can show that CT skills were important and still important to help the learners in solving problem, either for computer science problem or non-computer science problem. And then the last RQ is analyzed to see what is the type of supporting tool or instrument mostly used in delivering CT. So as we can see in the mapping, robotics and gaming with or without AR, which is augmented reality functionalities, are relevant to be applied and used as the supporting tool in nurturing CT into learners in the recent years. This study can show that both technology are able to help the learners to understand the 4IR better, as 4IR has become a demand in today's world. It lets the people learn and explore new things to solve real problems, especially using technological support. An overview of existing research that has applied and investigated various kind of method, which included the supporting tool, learning approach to nurture CT skill, is presented earlier in this presentation. And to meet the goal, we have mentioned that systematic mapping study is applied to prove the research objective. And the result shows a significant for those who are planning to be involved in teaching and learning CT in future, to get a good visual on the importance of CT skill and what are the kind of supporting tool that can be applied for them to understand the CT better, as discussed in the previous section. So for future work, other additional facets such as the intersection of the computational thinking skill and the supporting tool development need to be dealt with each other, because each context has a big scope, and also the activities resulted from the intersection also need to be investigated and evaluated, and the process to assess the computational thinking skill acceptance also need to be measured to see the relevance of computational thinking skill. That's all. Thank you from me.